But the question is, the season has been really dynamic for Damon as far as being a lot more vulnerable. And in the season finale, with Stefan having departed,
right?
How is Damon going to kind of assess his role in this season 3? Is he going to still be, I mean, obviously still going to be protective of Elena, but how is his role going to change? Because usually Damon's there to kind of, not Damon, sorry, Stefan is kind of there to be the knight.
Yeah, exactly.
So is Damon still going to be just the bad boy? Is he going to try to be the anti-hero this season?
I mean, honestly, I would love, it's a show, it's a series of a television show, and these characters evolve. I would obviously rather just remain the badass dude who gets all the great lines and rips everybody's heads off and shit. That's what I would prefer. I know it sounds a little sadistic, but it makes for better characters. But I don't think that's the way life is. And Kevin Williams basically sat me down and just shut up and listen, because life is not one-dimensional. We change. And I don't think Damon, it's that push-pull. He's fighting against what he truly is. And that's what makes the push-pull, that's what makes the story dynamic. He is an anti-hero. He doesn't know how to do all this stuff. And I think he's gonna have some trials and tribulations. And ultimately, I don't think he's not happy with the way things turned out. He tried for 2 seasons to get his brother to do what he wanted him to do, which was be what he is. Just eat and destroy everything in their paths. And then so we tried that for 2 seasons, man, and now Stefan's running around with a guy that Damon hates, trying to kill him. And he's effectively left him in this town with this girl who's 150 years younger than he is, and he's in love with, that he can't have because she doesn't want him, A, and B, it's his brother's girl. And he's just sitting there, and he's thinking to himself, this sucks. But he's going to rise to the occasion, I think, and he's going to have fun, And this is the guy who will have the same grin on his face if he was ripping your head off or saving a kitten. You know what I mean? Seriously, he feels the same way about both things.
Can you talk about the kiss? How exactly do you interpret Elena's motivation there? Was she feeling bad for Damon? Was there a friendship?
Probably. I mean, people think, I keep hearing this passionate kiss. And guys, well, I don't know if anyone saw, but he was also pale white, sweating profusely, and bleeding. There isn't anything very passionate about, you know what I mean? I don't know how much I would read into that, although I do know that he remembers it. And actually in this episode coming up, he makes a mention of it, kind of joking, kind of jabbing at her, but illustrating that he definitely remembers it, and it didn't go unnoticed. And I think that she gets things from Damon that she doesn't get from Stefan. I mean, they jab at each other, they have this fun banter, he makes her smile, ultimately, even though he killed her brother and he basically destroyed her life in many ways. But that's where I think he is. I think that he's not happy about this situation. But he loves him and he has to protect this girl. And, he knows his brother did all this shit to save him. He did. Stefan's now an indentured servant. Who knows how long, whether it's a decade or a millennia, who knows?
There's a lot of fans that want to see you and Bonnie together because of the books.
Bonnie's hot.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Would you like to see that?
Sleeping with a witch would probably be pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Bad thoughts. Go away. I hear that and I understand that, and I think Damon and Bonnie really are kind of, in ways, cut from a very similar cloth. They have a great. Kat and I have, Damon and Bonnie have a really cool dynamic. They're pretty funny together. I remember shooting that scene where they're dancing together. I saw that scene and I said, wow, man, that really works. Look at these two. Completely wouldn't, I know in the books that happens. It's that thing where, you hate someone and then you fall for them. But Damon's so wrapped up in Elena, and you know, the last thing that Damon would want is, you imagine Jeremy coming after Damon like, they went for my girlfriend! Really? You know, looked up once, kid, it was fun. Leave me alone. But that, you know, who knows?
Speaking of Jeremy, one of the things that I think is really good with his relationship with Damon is that he always kind of pushes him to kind of man up a bit. Are we going to see...
Who pushes Jeremy?
Damon pushes Jeremy a little bit sometimes to kind of man up in situations, because the season has kind of looked, or happenstances put Damon and Jeremy kind of in the same situation. And I'm wondering, as a fan of their scenes, because they're great, are you going to be having more scenes Damon with Jeremy in this?
Probably, because now that Damon's sort of stuck in Mystic Falls, and you know, he is with Rick, with Alara, kind of beholden to look after them. I mean, he has to take care of his little ass, and that's again, it's like the last thing. That's the last thing he wants to do. But I think Jeremy could learn a lot from Damon that he really does not need to know. But honestly, I'm talking out of my ears. I have no idea what's going on.
Ian.
Oh no, she's talking.
Are you concerned that Damon will become too sympathetic, and how do you maintain your edge?
Well, that's the thing. He will not, you know, and that's what Kevin and I were talking about. This thing isn't rolling. Should I make it turn it on?
Yeah, rap again then.
There we go. Wait, sorry. What was the question? Oh, the
How do you
edge.
maintain your edge?
Yeah, you know what? By the way, man, he is that guy. It's that push-pull. It's the alcoholic in the bar. How difficult it is. Where people need him to be this hero, but he ultimately is not going to know how. He's going to slip up all the time. He's going to accidentally kill people, or not accidentally kill people. And he's going to wallow in a little bit of, not guilt, but just like, why is this happening? And the way you keep it fresh is, you know, you have to weave the thread of life into this text, and you ultimately are pulling from your life, past, present, and future experiences. You know, from when I rapped in mid-April until now, I am a completely different person. So are you. We have to strive to make every day cool or great, or just get through it, however it goes. So there's the edge, keeping it fresh and keeping it things in my life that I can actually put into the text. And, you know, it's the only way you're going to really truly be able to live a moment is if it actually means something to you. If you just show up and say the words. And it's also, by the way, don't for a second think it's always like cotton candy. Sometimes it really hurts, and a lot of stuff that Damon goes through is super cathartic. For me as an individual, it's not always pretty. You know, it stirs up. You're basically muddying the water all the time. You're pulling from all these things in your life that are not necessarily good. It's basically like getting paid for therapy. Instead of going and sitting on someone's chair, tell me about, you know, how you feel. You're internally pulling all this stuff, and I work with this woman who's so profound in her work. Her name is Ivana Chubbuck. She's probably the most preeminent. She's, I would say, globally, probably the most famous acting coach walking the face of the planet. Still working, and the way she teaches and her ability to take from your life, and again, I know it sounds so sort of cliche, but weave it into the thread of the text, and it forms a cloak, and that's what you see. But underneath, man, you know, you don't see all the stitching and everything. What you see outside is what's presented to you and what's real, and it's that real fabric. But man, it is not easy, and this woman knows more about more people in Hollywood than anyone, and really deep, profound stuff. And if you ever want an insight to this, she wrote a book. It's called The Power of the Actor. Read that book, and you'll go, oh, this is how. When you look at someone like Jack Nicholson, and you see this twinkle in his eye, and you think, what is that guy thinking about? You wouldn't want to know. The most sadistic, weirdest stuff that actually are complete non sequiturs and have nothing to do with. If you're doing a scene where you're actually, Damon's doing a scene where he's with Stefan, talking to Stefan. Stefan doesn't even exist. I don't even know who the hell Stefan is. It might be my mother, it could be my brother, it could be Kevin Williamson, but I'm actually imagining in my head that I'm talking to about a specific scenario that has nothing to do with the scene in the Vampire Diaries. And that's when it becomes profound. It actually means something to you. And again, it's not always fun. It's sometimes brutal. And I'll walk off set and I'll cry for 10 minutes alone in my trailer, and I look at myself in the mirror and think, what the hell are you doing? Why are you crying in your trip? Go have a coffee or something. But that's, for me, that's acting. I mean, that's what I do every day. It's pretty weird.
Thank you so much. No, thank you so much.
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
Thank you.